Hey guys, we're going to talk about relations today. So when we're talking about a relation, we want to know the definition first. So it's a set of ordered pairs. With a set is actually a specific thing in math. So when we're talking about sets, it's any group of things that are inside soft brackets. To remind you, soft brackets are the half circle, the arrow point, and the half circle. So anything that's inside of these soft brackets would be considered a set of something. So here we're going to have a set of ordered pairs, and just a reminder, an ordered pair is a parenthesis and then an x-coordinate, a comma, and then a y-coordinate, and you close the parenthesis. With relations, it sounds confusing, but it's really not. A relation is just a relationship, hence why they have the same base word. So a relation is a relationship, and it's just what is the relationship between the x's and y's. We're not necessarily going to have to answer that question with this specific type of relation. We'll get to that further down the line. Today we're just going to learn how we can represent these relationships. So there are three ways to represent these sets. When you're given a set, you can put it in that set notation. Remember, set notation is just the set symbol with those ordered pairs inside of it. So an example would look like this right here. Those are the set notations. We have a set at the beginning and a set closing at the end. Notice there are no set symbols in between the ordered pairs. It's a set at the beginning, it opens that set, and then a set at the end, which closes the set. If you're already given this and then you're still asked to give one of the three ways with ordered pairs, that would just then be a list. You can either list them horizontally with commas, or you could list them vertically, one on top of the other. So -3, 0, and then 2, -1, and then 5, 4. Okay, that's if you're already given the set. If you're not given the set and you're asked to write the relation, you can write it using the set notation. We're going to talk about when we're going to use these things, because it's not going to make sense for you to do all three ways all the time. That's a lot of work for something that should not be happening. The three ways are used for various situations, just like money is used to pay for various things. With money, you've got different levels of money. You got pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters and dollars and $5 and $10 and $20 and so on. But you're not going to use one type of money to pay for everything. So for example, when you go to buy a TV, you're not paying for a TV in pennies. That doesn't make sense. That's a lot of pennies. It's way too many pennies. And it's not a good way to represent that money that you would have to use to pay for that TV. It's the same thing with these ways to represent relations. We would not use this way to represent relations very often. The only time we would really use it is when there's a small amount of ordered pairs. So if you only have a few ordered pairs, this way is fine because it won't take you that long. But if you have a lot of ordered pairs, it's a pain in the butt to have to sit there and do the set notation and then parentheses for an ordered pair and then list the ordered pair and then close the parentheses and then a comma and then another parentheses and list the ordered pair, and you'd have to keep repeating that process for a lot of numbers, and that would take a really long time. So we have another way that we can represent relations that would be shorter. That way that we're going to look at are tables. We also call them T-charts. There's a specific type of chart that can be used instead of a table. Or we can call tables XY tables because this is the name of the table because its title is XY. So I'll give you an example. This is an XY table. It's a horizontal XY table because you read from left to right. So this is my title, XY. And then these are the numbers for X's and these are the numbers for Y's. So this is a horizontal XY table. You can call it a table just by itself without the name, because a table is a grid that has different cells where you put things inside those cells. So here we have a table. Typically you're going to see these types of tables in electronic form in Excel or in Word. If you go to insert a table in a Word document, you're going to see something that looks like this. Another way is a vertical table. So it's literally the same thing, except for your title is up top and you're reading from top to bottom vertically instead of left to right horizontally. The T-chart is probably one of the most common ones that are written down, just because it's easier to do and it's less writing. So it's literally making a T and then taking your ordered pairs from example 1 and writing the X next to its matching Y. It's a little bit difficult if your handwriting is kind of messy because you may mix up the ordered pairs and not necessarily have them right next to each other. So if you're one of the messy handwriting people, it may be a good idea to stick with tables instead of T-charts. We're going to use this the most often because it is the easiest way to organize our data. So if we want our data organized from least to greatest, or we want our data organized from time that we took it, or we want the ordered pairs organized so that all the X's are in a row and all the Y's are in a row, and we can compare the X's to each other and compare the Y's to each other, this is the best way to do it. We also will use this whenever we have large amounts of ordered pairs. Because it's just an easier way to take down your data or your numbers. You can just sit there and make a T-chart, put your titles, and then a number, a number, a number, a number, a number, a number. You don't need to do all those parentheses and the commas and the set notation at the beginning and the end and making sure they're all connected and in order. It's just a lot easier. And these are things that, again, like I said, are in electronic form as well. So when people are collecting data, they use Excel, which is already in a table and cell format. So you can literally just type the title of your table at the top and then just start typing in data that you collect. The other way, or the other time we're going to use it, is when we want to analyze our data. So that is when we're taking those ordered pairs and we want to graph them, or if we want to find the mean, median, mode, or range of them, or if we want to find their sums, or if we want to do really anything with the data. We're really looking to put it in a table format first. The last way that we're going to talk about, oh, by the way, please make sure you have all three of these written down so that you know what tables look like versus T-charts and the two different types of tables that you can see. The third way is going to be a graph form. So this is anytime that you want a visual representation of your data. So we're looking at visually what the data is going to look like. We use this to see trends. That's another way to analyze data. Trends, though, are more visual, where we can see if something is increasing over time or decreasing over time or staying constant over time, or if it's increasing and then decreasing and then increasing. That's a trend in our data or our numbers. The downfalls to graphs are you have to use one of the other two ways to get a graph. You can't just start with a graph. You've got to collect your data somewhere. It's really difficult to go around and ask people different information and then take it down and graph it as you're getting that information. So you really need a table or a list of ordered pairs before you get this graph. Another downfall is if you're given the graph, it's really difficult to then extract the data from it and figure out what numbers these guys represent. Right now, there's only 3 of them, so it's really not that difficult. But when you get a lot of data or a lot of ordered pairs, it's going to be a lot harder and a lot more tedious to try to get those numbers from the graph. One thing we want to remember with the graph is we are using our axes to graph the numbers from our ordered pairs in our previous examples. We always want to label our y-axis and our x-axis. And then we always want to make sure that if we're struggling with graphing, we put positive and negative signs on these axes. So our positive sign will go on the right side of the x-axis because to the right of 0 is positive, and then a negative sign on the left side of the x-axis, to the left of 0 is negative. So think of a normal number line with the x-axis. The y-axis, when we're going up, that's positive. I kind of think of a thermometer. Any temperatures above 0 are positive, and any temperatures below 0 are negative. So it'd be a really good idea to put those symbols on your coordinate grid before you graph your ordered pairs. Please make sure that you do graph those points, though, from example 1 and example 2. They're the same numbers both times. You just want to make sure that you have them graphed in the correct locations. And really that's it for relations. You've just got to know when's the best time to use them, and that all three ways represent a relation. Not one is more important than the other, but they're used at different times. If you have any questions, please make sure that you write them down on the bottom or the back of your paper, and you can ask me when you see me next.